Green Lantern turns 80. What's going on with the sequel trilogy? And thank you, Carl Reiner. All coming up next. Alright everybody, Robert Jerdee here, your guide to the world of pop culture and all things nerdy. Feel free to like and comment or subscribe to any of my social medias down here, Facebook, Instagrams, YouTubes, etc. And let's get started, shall we? I just picked up my copy a couple days ago of the 100-page, super spectacular 80th anniversary edition of Green Lantern. It's an amazing collection with different artists from like Geoff Johns and Marz, to various artists, all kinds of different people, and it's a bunch of different little vignettes and stories that highlight the various Green Lanterns throughout the years. And, you know, from Hal Jordan, who's probably the most associated with the Green Lanterns, to Carl Reiner, my personal favorite, because he's a Mexican dude with a white last name, so I identify with that. Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner. It just really, you know, like I said, it talks about the vignettes from all the different characters, and it really brings out, you know, the spirit and what makes each one of these characters special, as well as just painting a really cool picture about the whole sort of universe of the Green Lantern Corps, what they do and things like that. It's a great jumping on point if you've never, you know, if you only kind of know Green Lantern from the Ryan Reynolds movie, or maybe some various cartoons. It's actually a pretty good jumping on point because it tells you a lot about the characters without having to delve into the complicated, very complicated history of the Green Lanterns and the Green Lantern Corps. So it's, like I said, it's a very good, and I mean, it is 100 pages. So it's not a fast read, but it is a fun, entertaining read. And probably, in my opinion, and of course, if you have any comments or if you know of any others, and please let me know in the comments, I think the Green Lantern Corps is probably the most, probably next to the X-Men, the most diverse group of characters in all comics right now. I mean, you've got Jon Stewart, who's an African American. You've got Carl Reiner, who's Mexican American. You've got Simon Boaz, who's Muslim. You've got Jessica Cruz. You've got all this just a mix of different cultures and people protecting Earth as a Green Lantern. And like I said, probably next to the X-Men, or maybe even equal to, the most diverse cast of characters in comics right now. So it's actually pretty interesting. If you get a chance, check it out. My copy was a hardback copy for, well, I mean, a thick, I wasn't say hard, but a collected edition for $9.99. I got that at a comic book store, but you can probably find it on Amazon. But hey, go to a comic book store and support some local businesses, if you get a chance, of course. But yeah, Green Lantern, 100-page, 80th anniversary spectacular. Check it out. All right, next story I want to talk about. What is going on with the sequel trilogy? Now, apparently, now I had seen this video before. There's a YouTuber out there by the name of Overlord DVD. He wears a mask, and he's like, his whole gimmick is from the future, and he's an interesting character. I mean, I don't agree with some of the stuff he says, but he drops a lot of potentially interesting information. And one of the things he talked about last week that has actually been picking up a lot of mainstream traction in regards to the news comic world or news pop culture world is something called the Veil of the Force. Now, apparently there is a civil war going on. Reports or whatever are saying there's a civil war going on right now in Star Wars between Kathleen Kennedy, who was the person behind the sequel trilogy, and Jon Favreau, who is the person behind The Mandalorian, and sort of different philosophies about where the Star Wars universe is going. And so what they're using is, and apparently in the TV show Rebels, they bring up this concept of the Veil of the Force. And using this Veil of the Force, you're able to sort of travel to, peek into, see multiple universes, multiverses, alternate dimensions. And you can also go back in time, apparently, and you can mess with things or what have you. And that was one of the rumors I heard for Rise of Skywalker early on, was that they were going to pull an Endgame kind of thing and go back in time and fiddle with the universe and the original trilogy and things like that. Whether that's true or not, or that's something that was actually ever on board, I don't know. But they're talking about it again because what they're doing is reports. This YouTuber was reporting that they could use this veil of the Force to essentially wipe out this sequel trilogy timeline and put it in its own pocket universe, so that there was never a Rey, Ren, Luke Skywalker was never drinking blue milk and all those things. Like, I don't know. You know, I didn't care for Force Awakens. I just thought it was a copy-paste of the first Star Wars. Last Jedi had its moments. I mean, I didn't care for it, probably not for the reasons everybody else did, but I also thought that it had some interesting ideas, but it was just executed poorly. And that whole last bit about the salt planet and things like that, I just couldn't, you know. I think the best parts were where the Rey Ren sort of like what's going on with these two kind of a deal. And you know, they do that a little bit in the Rise of Skywalker, but generally, I mean, that was more like a let's please everyone sort of a movie and throw everything in there. And other than Lando and that cool scene where Rey blows up Chewbacca, I mean, it was okay, but it didn't really, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't really do anything for me. And unfortunately, I feel like I'm not in the minority on this one. A lot of people just didn't really care for the sequel trilogy, as evidenced by, and I don't know what it is, well, I mean, I can imagine what it is like now, but before the incident that's going on in the world right now, you know, there was a lot of reports about Disney, Star Wars was the Galaxy's Edge, not doing as well as people thought it was going to, because it was all based on the sequel trilogy. And you didn't see these legacy characters like Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia. Instead, you saw the Kylo Rens and the Reys and stuff, and just people weren't flocking to it. So I don't know. You know, I think, hey, the movies are already out there. I don't think they're going to wipe them out. I just think it's maybe time to start a new trilogy of characters, or maybe, you know what, maybe give Star Wars a break for a little bit. Like, we've had a lot of Star Wars lately, and I think we're a little burned out on it. So maybe give Star Wars a rest. But that's just me. What do you think? How did you feel about the Star Wars trilogies, or the sequel trilogies, and what did you think about them? Were you a fan? Did it meet your expectations? Did it fall below? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk with you about it. All right, and finally, let's talk about a big thank you for director, actor, and creator Carl Reiner. Carl Reiner passed away today, we learned, and you know, I'm, of course, you know, the Dick Van Dyke Show. He also directed, like, The Jerk. I'm a big Steve Martin fan, so like The Jerk, Man with Two Brains, All of Me, which I feel like is a very sweet, underrated movie, All of Me. You know, a big Steve Martin fan. These are all great movies. I think my favorite, though, as I was going through his IMDb, stupid. Summer School. I love this movie, Summer School. Mid to late 80s, Mark Harmon as a slacker gym teacher who has to teach a group of misfit students English so that they can pass this remedial course before summer's over, or else they won't be able to graduate. And you learn all the different personalities of the characters. And if you're a horror movie fan, they have a lot of horror movie tributes, particularly one scene that is gross out to the max, to use 80s lingo. Yeah, it's a fun movie. And so definitely, you know, hey, if you're bored and you're looking for some Carl Reiner movies to watch, I would check out Summer School. I mean, there's a million, and all of them, you know, hey, the ones that I've seen at least, I think they're all great. But I do have a special spot in my heart for Summer School. I think, you know, if I ever achieve any sort of power in Hollywood, I'd love to do I'd love to do a Summer School remake, a reboot, because I could very easily be a slacker gym teacher. Maybe in another life I actually was. And so this is the part I want, is what I'm saying. But thank you again, Carl Reiner, for the legacy of laughter you've given us throughout the years. You will be surely missed. Well, everybody, thank you so much again for watching these silly YouTube videos I put out. You know, every day I'm trying different new. I'm trying different stuff. I'm trying things new. I got a new light ring, so if the lighting is weird, you'll know I'm using a new light ring. And just trying different stuff. So again, thank you for the shares, the likes, the comments. I really appreciate it. And of course, hey, let me know in the comments. Which reminds me, I'm talking about letting me know. I'm starting a new show going forward on Saturdays. You know, I like this like multi-entertainment format that I'm doing with, you know, All Things Nerdy. But I want to do something else on Saturdays because I love doing these He-Man, G.I. Joe cartoon reviews. So Saturday mornings going forward, Saturday morning cartoons with Robert Jerdee. We'll have a bowl of cereal, hang out, and we'll talk about, or at least I'll talk about, some of my favorite cartoons. So if you have any cartoons, I said that so emphatically, if you have any cartoons you want me to watch, leave them in the comments. I'll check them out. I mean, if they're on YouTube, or if I have to find a DVD or I can buy one on Google, a particular episode, let me know. I've got one slated for this Saturday coming up, and I'll start filming that here pretty soon. And then please feel free to send me suggestions. I mean, I love He-Man and G.I. Joe, and that's kind of what I watch all the time anyway. So if there's new videos or new cartoons you want me to check out, or particular episodes that you think are interesting or worthwhile or weird or what have you, let me know in the comments. I'm glad to check them out. Well, again, thank you so much. Robert Jerdee here, your guide for all things pop culture. Have a great evening and take care.